So we had this Cascadia towed in last night. It's got an issue with the starter. It's not getting power, it's not cranking. So this is a Freightliner Cascadia. It's got a DD13 in it. It's an Eaton manual 10-speed. Let's show you guys how we diagnose this and get this truck back on the road. So the code that we got active right now is engine starter relay open circuit. It's SPN 677 FMI 5. Basically, we got an electrical issue going on here. All we're doing here is troubleshooting the wire and figuring out exactly what's going on, where it rubbed through. So step by step, we'll show you how to get this truck up and rolling. Step one, check all your fuses. You got a fuse box right here on the driver's side fender. Check all those fuses, make sure everything's good to go there. From there, you got a second fuse box in here. This is a very crucial fuse box. A lot of power goes through this one. So make sure all your fuses are intact there and everything's good to go. Step two, check your clutch switch. The clutch switch is a very common failure in these trucks. That clutch pedal, it takes a lot of wear and tear throughout the day. Those sensors, they tend to fail. I'll show you how to bypass the sensor so that you could at least troubleshoot it and see if the truck will start without the sensor. Let me show you how we bypass the sensor. So the clutch switch is located right here on this clutch pedal, and it's got a sensor running up there. It's got 3 terminals here, 1, 2, 3. The way we bypass it is the 2 outer ones, just run a jumper from it, one side to the other side, hook it up. Let's see what we got. Luckily for this one, it's not the issue, but that's one way to troubleshoot it to see if the clutch switch is the problem. Step 3, we're on the right side of the engine. We're gonna check if the starter is even cranking. From there, we can troubleshoot to see if the starter is even getting power. So let me show you guys exactly how we can jump the solenoid to see that the starter is cranking. So I'm gonna show you guys how we jump this solenoid to get the starter cranking, and we can see if the starter is working. So you wanna contact this point with this upper wire. Let's see what we got. Awesome. So the starter is cranking, the solenoid is working. Now we gotta see why we are not getting power to the solenoid to engage the starter. So I would recommend a power probe. I got this guy right here. What we're gonna do is, I got a guy inside the truck. He's gonna crank the truck, and we should be getting 12 volts to this red wire on top of the solenoid. As you can see, we're getting all zeros. Crank it. So he's cranking it, everything's zeros. We're getting no power to the top of the solenoid. This is our issue right here. We're gonna show you guys how we troubleshoot this and how we figure out exactly where we lost communication from the SAM chassis to the starter. Step number 4, we're gonna trace the wire from pin 3 on the SAM chassis to pin 20 on the small MCM plug. So the way it works when you're cranking the ignition, the signal sends it to the SAM chassis. From the SAM chassis, it sends it to the MCM. From the MCM, it goes to the starter. So you got a plug right here, the X19. It's got pin number 3 that sends the signal to the MCM. So we're gonna show you how to trace this wire to the MCM to make sure we got nothing rubbed through there. So we got this X19 plug disconnected, and you see here pin number 3. This is the wire that runs from the SAM chassis to the MCM, and it plugs into the MCM on the small plug, and it's gonna be pin number 20. So check the continuity from here to there, make sure everything's good. If that's good, we're tracing from the MCM to the starter next. So this is the MCM small plug. As I was saying, the SAM chassis wire from pin 3 will run to pin 20, which is the middle one on top. Make sure your continuity there is good. If that checks out, we're gonna be tracing pin 21 from the MCM to the starter. That's actually what sends the signal to the starter to crank. So pin 21 to the starter, let's trace it. So in this truck's case, the issue was the wire running from the MCM pin 20 connector to the starter. And I showed you guys it was that red wire on top of the starter solenoid. That was the issue all along. Somewhere along the engine harness, that wire rubbed through, and it's causing the truck not to start. So I'm gonna show you guys exactly how we ran a little jumper wire from this pin 21 to the starter, which actually got the truck to start. So I'll show you guys exactly how we got it done. So like I said, pin 21 wire is the one that runs from the MCM to the starter. So what we did here, instead of cutting and splicing wires, they sell these things called quick splices. So we ran a wire on one end and quick spliced it to this side. And we're gonna run a jumper from here to that side. So once you splice it here, go ahead and connect it. Run your wire to the starter solenoid, to that red wire on top. Quick splice it there, and let's see what happens. So we're gonna run this quick splice, get it hooked up on this side. Go ahead and insert your wire that we're gonna run from the MCM to here. Stick it in. As you can see, it's spliced, all hooked up. So we got a splice right now. We're gonna go ahead and try cranking the truck and see what happens. And while he's cranking it, I'll show you exactly how many volts need to be going to that starter solenoid so that you guys know for the future. But here we go. So we got our power probe hooked up right now. Currently at 0. Let's show you guys how much we need to be getting. Crank it. So as you can see, it was getting 9 volts there, but that still shows you that when you're cranking the truck, you need to be getting some kind of power to that hot wire or to that top wire on the starter solenoid. That was the issue here. Somewhere along the way, that wire from the MCM to the starter solenoid rubbed through. So this truck is gonna need a harness. For my owner operators out there, you guys can run a jumper wire, but us being a legit shop, we don't like to do warranties. We're gonna get it swapped out, the whole harness. So as you guys can see, the code is no longer active. It was previously confirmed, previously active. Truck is good to go. From here, we got step number 5, and that's the fun part, which is cleaning up, getting this truck back on the road.